What's up, everybody out there in War Room World? This is your boy Dev from War Room Sports. I'd like to welcome you all to listen to episode 194 of our podcast, The War Room. In this episode, we talk about Roddy White and his ass bet, the Sweet 16. We want to know if Wichita State are frauds or nah. Northwestern's bid to unionize, whether or not the NFL is going to implode in 10 years. Wiggins and Parker, are they ready for the NBA? The Sixers' epic tank job, and a whole lot more. And we also speak with New York Times best-selling author Jeff Pearlman about his latest book, Showtime, which chronicles the 1980s Lakers dynasty. So make sure, that was a pretty good interview. So make sure you guys sit back, relax, take a listen to episode 194 of The War Room. Peace.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hughes. Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kim, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. How you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to get the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topic, sorta like the rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.
What up, War Room World? The mothership is in motion, so that can only mean you are once again live in the War Room. Brought to you, of course, by War Room Sports. I'm Devin McMillan, and I'm joined by Jimmy Williams and B. Austin. We're down to the Sweet 16, so we'll let you know how busted our brackets are. We'll also talk to sports writer and author Jeff Pearlman about his latest New York Times bestseller, Showtime, about the Lakers dynasty of the 1980s. But before we do all that, we got a lot more on deck for you, so make sure you join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports so you can join in the conversations there as well. You can also call us directly when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline. That number, as usual, is 323-410-0012. Everybody, do yourself a favor. During the week, make sure you take the time to hear some more great sports talk from some of the people and some of the shows that will be on the War Room Sports Podcast Network that is launching on Tax Day, April 15th. A few of those shows that we want you to check out. Make sure you check out Roy and Chris of the Broad Street Line every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio. And check out our boy Brandon Pemberton on Sports Trap Radio every Thursday afternoon from noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, also on Blog Talk Radio. In addition, don't forget to catch us in syndication 3 times on Fridays on NewVibeRadio.com at 7 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Sundays and Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on FatsRadio.com. Now, like I said, our show and all the other shows I just named, that's just a little bit that we're going to give you guys on the War Room Sports Podcast Network, so you can listen to all of that at WarRoomSports.com starting on April 15th. Fellas, 19 days into the launch of WRSPN. Y'all excited?
Woo! In the words of Ric Flair, I am ecstatic. I'm happy. Yo, it's Thursday, and all of our listeners, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're choosing to be here with us, so we happy about that. I got a lot to get off my chest in this episode, so you're going to, first of all, Philadelphia 70.
Jimmy, what's up with you?
I thought that was my phone. That's actually my ringtone, so I'm like going crazy. Like, hold up, but anyway, listen, man, I'm excited, man. You know, we about to change the game. People really don't understand exactly what it is we're doing, but they'll see. Simple as that.
No diggity.
Yo, they will see. Real quick though, Dev, I know I speak for you. Yo, 76ers management, yo, it's about who see who first, man. Y'all deserve
I think it's funny, actually, but I understand where you're coming from, because they've taken it to a new high of taking it to a new low. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the episode. Right now, as usual, we got to let you guys know what's been happening this week. While you all been on that grind, trying to get that money. What did you say, Jimmy? Trying to put food on your family. But while y'all on the grind, of course, is brought to you by DirecTV. If you like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including that NFL Sunday ticket, go to our website, warroomsports.com, click on the DirecTV logo, order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have DirecTV. All right, first story, while you guys were on the grind, Mike Williams, the wide receiver from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This man was hospitalized Sunday afternoon after being stabbed in his leg in his Tampa home. The suspect in the stabbing is his 23-year-old brother. So they were looking for him back then. I don't know if they found him. I really haven't been following the story. But what do you guys think of this? Because, Mike Williams is a guy who's kind of had a pattern of off-the-field problems. I'm not saying being stabbed in the leg is your fault, but this is just something else that the Buccaneers have to worry about.
Pop the Molly and his brother was tripping. His off-field antics have been well documented, chronicled. I mean, this is the third thing to happen and come up in the last 6 months, because just in February he had a domestic violence situation. In December he had a rumble. The Tampa Bay is looking at him and saying, why do we give this dude that $40 million contract with like 20-some million guaranteed? Yeah, they got to be asking themselves that, because the production isn't worth with the headaches.
Listen, man, he's just misunderstood. That's all.
Gotcha.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. That's what they all claim. What's crazy about this is when it happened, they were like Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I said, oh, okay. At this point, anything that happens in that raggedy state of Florida, is like, it doesn't even surprise me anymore. Like, I don't know what's going on down there, what's in the water, but, if you check the news in Florida, nothing is shocking.
Yo, shout out to DJ Willie G, friend of the show. Come on, man. What's going on in your state? What's going on in your city?
Yeah, this is his squad.
This is a Tampa guy. This is one of his Tampa dudes. So
he's responsible. He's responsible for this.
All right, I don't have many bars for Mike Williams. It's it's an unfortunate situation. I don't know what you did to your brother to cause him to poke you in your leg, knowing that your legs are basically your livelihood. Maybe he told his brother he couldn't get any more dough, so he's like, if I'm not going to get any dough, nobody's going to get any dough. But whatever.
No, they were squabbling over a Myra.
Arguing over like a Madden game.
A Myra. No, they were squabbling over a Myra.
It was a Myra squabble.
Mm-hmm.
Myra squabble, Madden squabble, it don't matter. You shouldn't be stabbing your brother in the leg, especially when he's most likely your meal ticket. But moving on from that, Roddy White. He kind of got caught out there on Twitter, with a little ass bet. He's a Duke fan. So one of his fans on Twitter was saying that Mercer was going to beat Duke. So Roddy White proceeds to tell him, if Mercer beats Duke, I will give you season tickets, 50-yard line, first row. Okay? We all know Mercer upset Duke in the tournament. It seems like everybody on Twitter, like all, 500 million plus people on Twitter, have been going at Roddy White's neck because he's been called out on the bet and he's not trying to pay. He said he was going to give the guy, since the Mercer, team is called the Bears, he's going to give the guy one ticket to the Chicago Bears game when they come into town. So Twitter kind of flipped on his head and everybody's going at Roddy White. What do you guys think of this practice of ass betting on Twitter?
You ass, dog. Ass, dog.
Here's my thing, right? My biggest problem with this is, how did Roddy White become a Duke Blue Devils fan? You went to Bama, son. Like, why are you a Duke fan? I just don't, like, I mean, well, I guess these days, though, to be honest with you, the way collegiate sports is operated, they are professional teams, whether people want to believe it or not. So I guess in that essence, he could be a Duke fan. But Yo, you shouldn't have put this out there, man. Yo, it's another one of them Twitter mistakes. Like, you can't do this. There's no way this comes off as being right. No one's going to take your side because in this whole situation, you look like as the big rich athlete joking and basically ass betting. That's never going to work out for you, champ. Get this, man. Get it. Yo, you put it out there so they'll pay up. That will actually buy you some goodwill. And he won't do that ish no more.
The fan was actually real, I guess you would call it gracious. He was real gracious about it, saying when Roddy White was under fire, he was saying, don't worry about it, Roddy, just gear up and bring us a Super Bowl. So, the fan was being a little bit of a punk about it.
We know why that is. He's a sicker fan.
Yeah, but the latest news, some company stepped up. This company is called OnlyJays.com. I guess that means it says they sell sports memorabilia, but only Jays. It sounds like they sell Jordans or something. Anyway, this company has actually stepped up to the plate, and they're going to give the guy season tickets. They're going to give them to him as close to the 50-yard line as they can, not exactly where Roddy White said. Now, Roddy White has nothing to do with this company, but, it's basically a publicity move on the part of this company, and it'll probably pay off for a little while. What do you guys think about that? Like, would y'all do that? Since you guys are principal owners of War Room Sports, if you would have thought of that, would you have stepped in and gotten this guy the season tickets?
No.
But hold on, though. But this does nothing but make Roddy White look more like an a-hole.
Because they said they gave him, and the guy's name is Dylan Hoyt. They said they gave him the tickets because they felt he handled the situation with class and grace. But if anybody out there knows anything about business, they provided this so they can get into the mix of a viral story.
Yep.
And benefit from it. So, B. Austin, you said you wouldn't do this?
No. There's no way to qualify the return on the investment, so no, I probably would say no.
Well, probably look at your website hits the very next day. At least people know your name. All right, so
not unless I get a retweet from Roddy. I hit Roddy up and say, yo, you got to retweet and tweet. You got to be my Twitter slave for like a month.
So now that somebody else has stepped to the plate, though, I wonder what Roddy White could do to, just to make himself look better in this whole situation. The tickets have already been given, so what can Roddy do? Find where the seats are, go up there and autograph.
If he was smart, he'd get an endorsement deal from them folks. If he was smart.
Here's my thing, though. One thing that neither one of you guys
has said. Last time you mistake Roddy White for being smart.
Here's one thing that has to be said. Neither one of you gentlemen have said this, but it just has to be put on the record in terms of Roddy White.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, who's coming?
The way you carry yourself.
We have a JoJo nominee. All right, Roddy. All right, y'all man, Swaggy P, Nick Young, one of y'all favorite basketball players.
That's Jimmy, man.
While he was out at the Staples Center playing a game on Monday, he was practicing. He was his Sherman Oaks home was robbed. They say they took like $100,000 worth of clothing, shoes, jewelry, and luggage. And my mistake, they were playing a game at the Staples Center. He said he returned home to find his upstairs window broken. And he said he's kind of nervous now. He needs to go out and get a guard dog or something. I mean, that's probably NBA speak. That's code word for an arsenal of weaponry. But he said he's probably going to go out and get a guard dog. But the thing he said, and he actually said this to police, the thing that he's hurt the most, like they stole $100,000 worth of stuff from his home. First of all, the fact that somebody was in your home, that's creepy enough. But he said the most important thing to him was his Nike Air Yeezy 2s. And he's really mad that they stole them joints. Yeah.
Them Jones, they go for a nice grip at this point.
Yeah, they said you can find them like $6,000 and up on the open market, which I don't understand, but hey, to each his own. Like, how many do they make?
They don't make that many, and Kanye is now affiliated with Adidas, so he left Nike, so those are supposed to be the last ones. But, a sneaker thing is like its own culture, and those are one of the more valuable pairs. So I guess that's why. It's sort of like losing memorabilia or something that just can't be replaced.
It's like he got his he got his Mona Lisa stolen, basically.
Yeah, it's like he had a baseball signed by Babe Ruth, and kids took it and just played in the yard, and then the dog chewed it up and all that. My fault. Shout to the Sandlot movie. But
I used to have a baseball signed by Willie Mays. Like, he actually signed it. I was in the hospital.
And what you do with it?
Wow.
Yeah. I had no sense of history, no sense of value. I used to throw the joint around the house, and now I have no idea where it is. I mean, this was back when
how
I
are
was
you
a kid.
throwing a ball around a house signed by Willie Mays? What is wrong with you?
I mean, but even for a while, like I had a trophy that was in the shape of a little glove from one of my baseball leagues, so I used to sit it in there. So, even though it was in there, I wasn't protecting it from the dirt, the dust, or anything like that. And like I said, I ain't going to front. Once in a while, I used to play catch with the joint. So now I have no idea where it is. And now that we do this and we actually know the kind of returns that you can get on something like that, I'm real salty about that.
Idiot.
I'm real salty about that.
What? Yo, oh my God.
It wasn't a fake either. Like,
so
I watched him sign this at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, like in 19... I want to say... Yo, this is first,
you got
one of the hosts
for that, yo.
Was a JoJo nominee.
It's been nominated for a JoJo award, yo.
Yeah, you gotta get a JoJo for that. Yo, I don't even know what baseball is, and I know the value of Willie Mays.
Yo, that's terrible, yo.
I watched him sign it right in front of my face too.
Yo, that's terrible, B. That's definitely terrible. Yo, but back to the whole Swaggy P thing, man. Like, shout out to at CaseyMax38 on Twitter. He said tax write-off. But you think do any of you guys think he's playing will be like the Deshaun Jackson game?
No.
How you come up with that figure?
I don't know.
How you come up with the figure $100,000?
Because I mean, just because of the Yeezys. If they're as limited as y'all say they are, then you're not going to want anybody to steal them no matter what. Because the insurance company,
I'm not saying
the
that
insurance company
are
going to treat them like a regular pair of Nikes, and they're going to give you the retail value for them, not the value that stupid people pay online. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he wasn't robbed. I'm just talking
Jimmy,
about he got $100,000 though.
Didn't somebody pay $110,000 for a pair of Yeezys?
But if I set it up, I'm telling them.
One.
If I set it up, I'm telling them what they can take and what they can't take, and if the Yeezys are that important to me.
No. I'm not saying he set the whole thing up or he wasn't robbed. I'm just talking about in terms of the amount.
Oh yeah.
They probably stole Yeezys and like a watch. He said, he got me for $100,000.
They stole six plasmas. They stole my plasmas. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I think that goes down with every robbery. Like, I ain't trying to dry snitch on myself, but my house get robbed.
I got you. Whoa.
Yeah.
We got you.
I'm going to claim stuff that's going to equal more than the house. So.
They broke up my house and stole another house.
If you're listening, I will always tell the truth. Insurance company, if you're listening.
No doubt.
Yo, shout out to Jake. Shout out to Jake from State Farm.
And another story, I don't know, this doesn't count as insurance fraud, but it's a little fishy to me. Shaq is actually under investigation for an assault charge by one of his coworkers at Turner Sports. This guy claims that Shaq ran out of a room and hit him with a quote-unquote tackle punch to the back, knocking him down and falling on top of him, injuring his neck and his back. Now,
my neck and my back.
Shaq, of course, his lawyers are basically saying that this was just Shaq doing horseplay.
Being Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq
now,
being
for
Shaq.
me, this it looks like, sounds like something Shaq would do. So I 100% unequivocally believe that Shaq was just horseplaying, and this guy is just taking this. I mean, horseplay by Shaq is pretty dangerous. The dude, as B. Austin always says, is like 7'90", 3 million pounds. So that's dangerous horseplay. So he probably caught dude at a bad time, probably really did fall on him and hurt him. So he knows Shaq is filthy rich, so he's taking this opportunity to see if he can get a couple dollars from Shaq.
My neck! My back! My neck and my back! Oh!
I told y'all the greatest part of this story is the fact that there is something called a tackle punch. I wasn't previously aware of this punch. I've never seen this punch, but it sounds amazing.
I know what a
tackle punch the ish out of somebody, yo. Yo,
what a prodigy would have said
yeah.
that. Like, it's about who see who first, and I see you, I'm gonna tackle punch you.
I'm gonna take you back to your undergraduate days. Do you recall a gentleman off of a particular team? I'm not going to throw that team under the bus. At Howard University, that used to like to wrestle, and that's just what he liked to do. Like, he thought that was fun, and that's the type of guy Shaq is. Not that type of wrestling, not the wrestling.
No,
that
I
Chris
mean, because
Bosh does.
No, I get what you're saying, but
if you think about all of the footage that we've seen, like behind the scenes of Shaq, he's always that type of dude, physical dude, jumping on people's back as if he doesn't realize how big he is. So I don't think he probably do this stuff all the time, but dude, he got hurt. So that means he probably got frustrated. Like, I wasn't trying to play right then, man.
Shout out to Kamal for the support. He's in the chat room. Said, "Damn it, Dev." I think Dev is leading our JoJo Award now. Said, "Damn it, Dev. You mean you lost the baseball and whatnot?" But Shaq is one of
the last time I was in Philly and I was at my aunt's house, I really was looking under stuff to see if after 20 years trying to see if it was there somewhere. The trophies and stuff.
At this point,
the
signatures probably all messed up and scratched. It probably say Willie Mays Hayes now.
Or at this point, one of my cousins probably visited the house and saw it, and as an adult realized how much they could get for it. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm blaming somebody. But I see a Willie Mays baseball laying under a couch with dust on it in somebody's crib. I'm stealing it too. So you got my ball. Stop playing before I tackle punch your ass.
Yeah, but Shaq is drawing, man, and Shaq needs to chill. And I guess maybe the good thing will come out of this is he'll realize that he can't play the way he plays, yo. Shaq be Shaq and the fool out there.
Shaq too damn big, man. I don't know if that's worth a JoJo nomination, but Shaq should probably just stop playing.
Yo, Shaq.
But look, stop playing, Shaq. Jimmy gave him one anyway.
Yeah, he definitely gets nominated. So here's the thing, right? Our JoJo Award nominees are as follows thus far. B. Austin, we got Shaq for Shaq and the Fool. We got Mike Williams. Mike Williams just for being Mike Williams. We got Roddy White for ass betting, and we got Dev for losing a baseball signed by Willie Mays. We need to put that out there.
We know
on
who's in the
media,
league.
Who wins the JoJo Award for the week? We need to put this out there, man. But anyway,
I should be ashamed of myself, the way I carry myself. Yeah, we actually got one more. I got one more story, and it's actually a positive joint. Chad Thomas is a senior football player at Booker T. Washington High School down in Miami. Yo, this young dude has received 150 scholarship offers. But the thing is, it's not just because he plays football. This dude plays 9 instruments. This is a little Stevie Wonder-ass type dude. He plays 9 instruments, and he's good on the football field. So he has 150 scholarship offers, and, of course, he chose to stay right at home at the University of Miami, where he's going to play for the Hurricanes, and he's also going to study music and hone his talents at the university's Frost School of Music. So shout out to Chad Thomas. Because usually, you know, when we're telling y'all what happened while y'all were on the grind, we don't come across a lot of positive stuff like positive things like
Not
that.
at all.
That young brother's doing some positive stuff. So shout out to him. Hope it all works out for him in either field.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Chaz. You get no JoJo nominee. Other than I do want to know why you picked Miami though. Like, because the thing is, I don't know the other schools. I read the story several times, and it always says 150 schools, but I didn't see any names of the schools. But they had to.
Do you know why he picked it? Because it's the.
I know, Uncle
Luke. The you. All right, everybody. So that's what happened this week while y'all were on that grind.
Yes.
It's
time for the birthday. Listen, birthdays, for those who may be listening for the first time, shame on you, but, you know, maybe you do know. The birthdays are brought to you by Dr. Monique Roll of Alexandria Podiatry Associates. For the best and comprehensive treatment of injuries to the foot, ankle, and lower extremities, visit Dr. Monique Roll of Alexandria Podiatry Associates. Treating patients in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area and beyond, visit alexandriapodiatry.org or call 703-379-0700. In the words of Master P, if you want the hookup, tell them War Room Sports sent you. Gentlemen, some interesting birthdays this week.
Yay!
How about this guy? You guys remember Danny Fortson? Danny Fortson turned 35.
Well, this is
everyone in the world was scared of Danny Fortson. And then
this is a Where Are They Now birthday segment.
Yeah, how about this? Villanova's own Eddie Pinckney, 51.
I ain't getting old. Getting old.
We have Bart Connor turning 56.
All right, hold up. I got to stop you right there because that's my homie. And it's not because he was a gold medalist in gymnastics in the Olympics. It's because he played Bart Taylor in the movie Rad. And if anybody here follows me on Facebook, y'all know how I feel about the cult classic from the 80s, Rad. So shout out to Bart Connor in this movie.
In this last All right, let Dev show him love. We have one more birthday, and this last guy is a War Room Sports Hall of Famer.
Man.
As a matter of fact, I think we're going to create our own Hall of Fame and just post the pictures of our own Hall of Fame up there. But this guy's
the greatest quarterback ever. Not really, but.
I mean, he's a little exaggerating, but he is a War Room Sports Hall of Famer. By the way, to be a War Room Sports Hall of Famer, you don't have to be a regular Hall of Famer because we have our own Hall of Fame. But this guy's definitely in the War Room Sports Hall of Fame. This guy is turning 51. His name is Randall Cunningham, the ultimate weapon.
Yes. I'm excited.
Yo, those are the birthdays for this week. Before we move any further, yo, Dev, tell everybody how to get in touch with us.
No doubt. Y'all can check out our website at warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our weekly newsletter. Once a week, click on the Contact Us tab. Send us a message about our company, our show, to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For general inquiries, email us, info@warroomsports.com. We'll get back to you real quick. While you're browsing the site, just click on the Memorabilia tab. Make sure you buy some War Room Sports merchandise. Click on the Blog tab to read our latest sports articles in the All Fair and Sports and War blog. We had something up there today from Brandon Campbell about the Eagles and the whole Chip Kelly, Deshaun Jackson saga, so you can go check that out. You can click the respective icons to like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, to subscribe to our iTunes podcast, to download our free War Room Sports mobile app, that's important, and to watch our videos at warroomsportstv.com. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/thewar room. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to create an account, you can sign in through your Facebook or Twitter accounts. While you're at it, click follow. Make sure you get updates and reminders about the show every week. We'll be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, and the chat room during the show. But to call in and speak with us, dial the Digital Extreme Technologies hotline, which is open right now at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. All right, so people keep people keep hitting me up about this baseball, man. I gotta go find this baseball. Maybe I just gotta go there. I go to North Philly and just threaten my aunt and uncle like, I know y'all got my baseball.
Yo, the internet on Twitter, somebody says Dev hands down is the JoJo Award winner. So, yo, all on the internet right now. Dev is getting slandered
on the internet. B.
I'm really gonna go to Philly and try to dig through my aunt's house and try to find this baseball. If I find it, I'm gonna post a picture and tell all y'all to kiss my ass. But
yo, you have to go buy a new one.
Sign it
write
myself.
Willie Mays on it. Ain't nobody gonna know.
No, because I find the original, I'm probably gonna sell that joint anyway. So.
Damn.
I ain't no hoarder, no pack rat. I'm gonna sell that joint.
You already know. I'll sell it for you. You know I'm a an internet hustler, man. You know what I mean?
All right, well,
I sold everything. But go ahead though.
Be on my Maul Burgess. Write a cookbook. Let's get into some more hot topics, man. Jimmy, real quick, tell everybody who Hot Topics are brought to them by.
Hot Topics. If your schedule is too hectic to read as much as you want, try audiobooks and kick back and let someone else do the reading for you. All you have to do is visit Audible and sign up for your free trial at audibletrial.com/warroomsports. In no time, you could be listening to the latest bestsellers, hands-free, stress-free, while getting other things done at the same time. Finished the Lakers book, and we actually have the author joining us later in the show to talk about that Lakers book, which is entitled Showtime. Currently, I'm going through the Bill Russell book. Also finished the Wilt Chamberlain and Dr. J book, so as you can see the pattern, this year I'm all about sports biographies. But you can actually get a free book. Any of those books I just mentioned, you can get one for free by going to audibletrial.com/warroomsports. At any rate, let's move on.
Right.
NCAA tournament.
All right, the NCAA tournament, of course, we know it's been going on. Well, we've been in the break period since we're up to the Sweet 16. It's bracket check time. I just want to know, what's your bracket looking like? How many you got in the Sweet 16 and how many of your Final Four still remain?
All right,
Me?
well, as you know, as you said last week, Dev, you said that people have, what do you call them, brackets of integrity or brackets of something or another? When you have one bracket.
Sheets of integrity?
Sheets of integrity.
I
don't have that.
Sheets of integrity?
I don't have that. I had two different ones. But anyway, the main one, which is the War Room Sports one, of course, I have 3 remaining left on my Final Four. I still have Michigan State, Arizona, and Louisville. I did lose Kansas, who Stanford kicked their behinds. In terms of the Sweet 16, I still have Florida. I definitely don't have Villanova. I don't have Duke. So my bracket, for lack of a better terms, is FUBAR.
Yeah, I have in the Sweet 16, I think I have 10. Florida, UCLA.
Oh, damn, showing off?
I got Virginia, Michigan State, Iowa State, Michigan, Louisville, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Arizona. And I have 3 out of my Final Four participants still alive. Of course, like you said, Kansas sold me out with that loss that they shouldn't have taken. But I still got Michigan State, Arizona, and Louisville. So we'll see. Nobody's winning the $1 billion bracket.
Same 3 I got, King.
Kansas. You had Kansas, right? That went out, or you had somebody else?
Yeah. But the 3 we got left are the same 3 I got, y'all.
Okay.
Now, listeners, you may be wondering why they have not asked me about my sheets of integrity or my bracket, and that's because I just don't give a hell. So I have none.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That sums that up.
All
right, so talking about the
up.
tournament, because we know it resumes tonight with the Sweet 16. You got Florida and UCLA. That should be a pretty good matchup. Arizona at San Diego State, Dayton at Stanford, Baylor, Wisconsin, and then you have some more games tomorrow.
What's
Virginia,
the first
Michigan
game?
State. The
That's
first
tonight,
game
right?
is Dayton and Stanford at 7:15. Baylor and Wisconsin tip off at 7:47, and then the late games: Florida, UCLA, Arizona, San Diego State. I wanted to ask you guys something from last week, because we know that Wichita State went into the tournament undefeated, basically, and was the first team to do that since like UCLA back in the day. They lost to a pretty good, pretty young Kentucky team. But like we probably were expecting, because a lot of people were saying that Wichita State didn't deserve that seeding because of the conference they played in. They hadn't played anybody. So after losing to Kentucky, you know, all the proverbial haters came out and said Wichita State was basically frauds. They hadn't played anybody all season, and when they finally played a good team, a team from a good conference, they lost.
Now,
do you guys
believe?
Do you guys agree? Were they frauds to begin with?
No, I totally disagree with that. I watched the entire game. I watched them play several times this season. They were a quality basketball team. I think what's funny about this game is when you look back at this game in history, in retrospect, and we start naming the players that were on each team, it's going to be like, of course Kentucky beat them. Kentucky has NBA talent. Wichita State has, some NBA talent, but a lot of guys who are good college players. It's a difference. And the fact of the matter is they did go undefeated. They didn't have the toughest schedule, but they won every game, and they beat every team that was in front of them. And even within that game, they were close to winning that game. That was an excellent basketball game. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That's probably the best game of the tournament thus far. They were going back and forth. They were right in that game. They could have won that game. At the end of the day, Kentucky has a lot of NBA talent, and Kentucky underachieved all season. They were supposed to be a better team than they were. They're getting hot at the right time, which is what we see in sports all the time.
They were you know how they do the preseason rankings. They were preseason number one. So now they're the role that they're on now.
They're getting hot at the right time, and that's what I'm saying.
Right, they're playing up to the potential that everybody expected them to have when they started the season.
And it's
so
funny.
I don't think
what's funny about this is
in losing the
season. Because I'm a gambling junkie. We created this thing like a fantasy NCAA tournament draft, right? So we draft teams, and it's a long story. But the thing about it is we had a discussion in the draft about Wichita State because somebody actually took them as their first pick. And I also heard Charles Barkley mention this on the show. He said he thought the selection committee kind of screwed them intentionally. I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but the bracket they were put in was sort of like the bracket from hell. We had Michael Smith on War Room Sports TV last week, Michael Smith of ESPN fame. You can check that out on warroomsportstv.com. But and he mentioned the same thing. Like he said he was taking Wichita just for the hell of it because of the bracket they were put in. If they were to beat Kentucky, they had to go play Louisville. Are you kidding me? Yeah. You mean you have to go through Kentucky? They had to go through Kentucky, Louisville, and then possibly after that, who would they have had to play after that? Like if they beat Louisville, like what's the next team?
They're in the bracket with Kentucky, Louisville, Duke.
Yo.
Texas,
if they beat,
they
had to play Louisville, then possibly Michigan, then Arizona. They had no easy games.
This Kentucky team could possibly be the best 8th seed we've seen in 40 years. Like what you said earlier, Jim. Like there's no shame for me. There's no shame in them losing this game because Kentucky was supposed to be, early in the season what they're doing now. They start 5 freshmen. That's what people aren't realizing. This is like the Michigan Fab Five all over again without all the fanfare. I mean, they get enough hype, but I think because they didn't live up to expectations throughout the season, the hype kind of died down a little bit. But now the team is gelling, and the freshmen are growing up a little bit, and they're playing.
They have a chance to do something that Michigan never did.
Exactly. They're playing up to the level that they were supposed to play at in the beginning of the season. So I think if Wichita State goes undefeated, gets a number 1 seed in the tournament, goes out there and the first name team, such as Kentucky, they play, they get wiped by, then that's a whole different story. I'm all in on the fraud talk. But like Jimmy said, this was probably, arguably, in my case, not really an argument. I think this was the best game of the tournament so far. So, Cleanthony early was in there doing his thing. He had 31 points on 17 shots. I don't see how anybody
what
can.
Is that gentleman?
I mean, people were waiting to call them frauds. People wanted them to lose so they can call them frauds.
Man.
Yeah, like
Cleanthony.
It's sort of like his pop was named Anthony and his mom was named something like, I don't know a good female Cleo name. Yeah, I guess they call it Cleo. And they call him
Cleo and Anthony.
But anyway.
Yeah, so I don't think Wichita State were frauds, man. I think they were a very good basketball team. They just ran up against the wrong team and with Jimmy Dean as the bracket from hell. So
that was that's
no
a
fraud
tough
in that.
bracket, yo.
Anyway,
and
like
by the way, that young gentleman,
that's different.
That young gentleman from Kentucky, though, the big man,
Randall.
number 30. Oh my God! Like I know it's funny because me and Iran, our fantasy expert, we had a conversation about him in the beginning of the season when we first watched him play. Like, this dude is probably the best college player, and of course, Jabari Parker and Wiggins got all the credit. But this, in terms of playing at the next level, dude is like a young Moses. Like, he's an animal down there. But he be bringing a ball up court sometimes too. Like, it's just amazing. Between watching him play and the fat boy from Carolina, I'm like, it's some nice players here. Problem is, what's going to happen. They're going to end up leaving too early and not working on their game. But, not that they should stay. We're going to get into that later.
Young Moses, the young most underrated player of all time?
He the young most underrated, yo. Me and Dev had a conversation this week, and we deemed Moses the most underrated player in the league history. But, that'll probably change by next week. But right now, Moses is the most underrated.
Anytime you hear players from that era, or even the guy that's coming on, Jeff Pearlman, in his book, and any writers who write about the NBA from back in the early 80s to, mid-80s, they all talk as if Moses was the best thing happening in the pivot at that time, bullying people around who are legends in the game, but you just don't hear Moses' name come up when we're talking about the greatest centers of all time. And to this day, I still don't understand that. Like, I highlighted a part of this book where, Moses was getting a little bit of a bumpkin. And I was going to take it back to a conversation that we had on our page when we did a versus, our Facebook page. We did a versus between the 82-83 Sixers and the 2000-2001 Los Angeles Lakers. And, people were coming on saying, people that were a little younger saying, well, who in the team can handle Shaq? And I was just shaking my head like, pieces just don't know. Like, Moses
they have
Shaq.
no clue.
He wasn't as big as
crazy.
Shaq, but Moses was Shaq in the early 80s. So
it's crazy, man, because it's like if you don't respect the history of anything, man, it's sad. As time goes on, we live on the internet, so we see everything. But anytime we talk anything, we could be talking about a movie, we could be talking about music, we could be talking about sports, and people just don't respect the history. It's like what happens and now is all that matters, and what happened in the past doesn't matter. And as time goes on, it's sad to see what happens with these athletes.
Prisoners of the moment.
Yeah, but it's like, it's sad to see what happens with these athletes. I'm just looking forward to the day, right? As someone who's not a Michael Jordan fan, I'm looking for the day when the consensus with everyone is that LeBron is better than Mike, because I know some old heads out there who will be ready to fight, and there's going to be a lot of fights taking place. So, I'm looking for that day because it's coming soon. People already try to hint at it, but it's going to get a lot worse. Like, they're going to ratchet it up. Like, it's sort of like they did with I remember at a point in time, like in the past, right, where when Mike was coming up, and it was like, he still ain't Dr. J. And then Mike, won a championship, won a couple championships, and it was like, Doc ain't nothing no more. You don't hear Doc's name for real no more.
And
Think
Doc
about it. You don't hear Doc's name no more. But at one
Doc
point,
was one of the most revered players in NBA history.
In the history of the game.
Come on now.
They threw him to the
star. The difference between MJ and some of these other older players is the way the sport is chronicled now. Jimmy wants to take shots and use Phil Knight in doing so, and Nike is definitely a part of what I'm talking about because they put $1 trillion behind Mike. But to be honest, we have film of Mike's career, I would say, from about 87, 88 onward. So
no, you're right. That's a big part of it.
Versus, so these younger generations are about what they can consume through the mediums that they grow up on and they understand. So you can see Mike on Twitter, on
but here's
YouTube,
the thing,
on Vimeo or whatever.
And doing like the research I do, right? I was talking about like Wilt Chamberlain and reading his book and also reading like other people's accounts. They say that Wilt Chamberlain's best days, there is no footage of. The footage that we see of Wilt It's pretty much when he was out of his prime. And he still was putting up 40.
There's no footage of that 100-point game in Hershey.
So
there's no
but even beyond that, like the season where he averaged
Mm-hmm.
55, we don't have any footage from the season. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but here's the thing that's going to like supersede LeBron. We have footage of LeBron playing in like 8th grade. So it's like it's Jordan plus. We have all kinds of media outlets and things where we've been introduced to LeBron at such a young age. I'm telling you, the day is going to come where that is the consensus. It may not be a consensus to us, but it's going to be the consensus. And I'm just saying I'm looking forward to it because I know people like you and other people who are like they will fight for Michael Jordan, and that's what's going to happen. And I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to have my World Star camera ready.
Mm-hmm. I wonder.
Like, why are they fighting? Because he said LeBron was better than Mike. That's what's going to happen, man. But, it is what it is, man.
Shout out to Moses Malone, and to quote him, I'll say, I'll always be number one to myself. Vote.
Oh, yeah. Moses is that dude. But, look, man, and some big news that came down the pike yesterday from NCAA football. Chicago District Court and the National Labor Relations Board ruled that the Northwestern football players can qualify as employees, and that's basically giving them the right to unionize. This is pretty big because of the discussions that everybody's been having over the past few years about, basically college athletes being paid eventually. This was a pretty big ruling. Of course, Northwestern, before the NCAA even has to get too much involved, Northwestern is appealing the ruling, so it's going to take them a little bit longer for them to be able to vote on a union. But what do you guys think of this ruling? Do you think it's a small step? Do you think it's a big step? How big is this whole thing in the grand scheme of things?
I think what it opens up for future is huge. So I think that it kind of sets a precedent and will allow for, dominoes to begin falling. Because what they're essentially saying is during a regular season, a collegiate football player is averaging between 40 and 50 hours per week to football, including travel, film, training, weight room, study, drills. So that's an actual work week for a normal person. So now 40 to 50 hours during season, and in August during training camp, they're engaged in 50 to 60 hours of football-related work per week.
Yeah,
so
and
that
also not just the time commitment. Not just the time commitment, but they also said the fact that their scholarships were tied directly to their performance on the field, type of thing. So
and that's compensation. That's the compensatory. That's what you call compensatory consideration. So there's money and value tied to that. That makes you employed. Yeah, because if you don't perform on the football field, you can then lose your scholarship, which has a dollarized value. So the time. 60 hours a week in August during training camp. Like that's overtime on most jobs. Like that's huge. That's a lot of time. So what time do they have for classroom, for studies? They're not student athletes. They're not student athletes.
Dev, you said what kind of step
the people who choose to be are, but we know that a lot of people don't go to, they go for a certain purpose. Go ahead, Jim.
Here's the thing, Dev. You said what kind of step is this? In my opinion, I think this is one small step for man and a giant leap for mankind. That's the first point. My second point is B. Austin alluded to the kind of hours they put in. They need to read Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and cut that out because they putting way too much time in. I heard Kareem Abdul-Jabbar talk about this, of all people, after we had a conversation about him this week, Dev. But he made a great point. He was talking about when he was coming out of school and how college was sort of an extension of high school. He said one of those things where the quarterback dated the cheerleader. He said they didn't sell tickets to get in the games. There was no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar jersey for sale. His likeness wasn't used. He said, but over time, they started selling tickets to games. They started selling jerseys. They basically had a complete paradigm shift of it being a thing that's for the school to they operate it to the same way that a professional football team does. They have a box office. They sell concession. They sell jerseys. They operate the same exact way, so it's not what it was. And throughout this time, everyone has gotten rich. Everyone's made money. Everybody got fat while the athletes starved. You know, Nickelback was sold in the park. Anyway, but so the athletes didn't get paid at all. The athletic director started getting cheese. The coaches now raking millions when this wasn't the case in the past. So everything has changed. They found a way to pretty much, you know, I don't want to call it the Adrian Peterson thing, but they pretty much have found a way to get free labor. And something eventually was going to have to change. This is going to be set a huge precedent, like B. Austin said. But eventually, this is going to all come crumbling down. So, you know, at the time being, they're going to keep doing it and keep raking in as much as humanly possible. But there are some colleges, big-time colleges, who run a more efficient and more feasible program than some professional organizations.
Let me, Dev, let me read some of the findings from the actual judge from the case that kind of gave the example of how Northwestern controls its players as employees. Number one, freshman and sophomore football players are required to live in dorms, and upperclassmen living off campus have to submit their leases to the coaching staff for approval. The athletic department must approve any outside employment and monitor all work and work hours for that outside employment. Players are required to give detailed information about their cars to the athletic department. Players are restricted from what they can post on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, etc., and must accept friend requests from the coaching staff and the athletic department. Players,
they got a bunch of Solomon Northup.
Players cannot profit off their likeness or images and are required to sign a release allowing Northwestern and the Big Ten and the NCAA to use their name, likeness, and image. So
the other like ESPN rules.
Yes, crazy. the letter of intent and the scholarship offer is deemed as the employment contract. The hours of practice and play that generate millions of dollars of revenue for the school are the employer's benefits. The coach's rules are the control, and the scholarship itself is the pay. Players are employees, and it didn't take any stretch in logic really for the judge to get there.
Man,
so that's
right.
the rule.
This is a big step, so we're going to wait by and see. First of all, we got to see how this appeal goes. I don't think they really have a chance of winning an appeal, so we'll see how the dominoes fall after this. They also made a big deal of, you know, for the past 60 years, the NCAA has been hiding behind the term student athlete, you know, to hide what it really is. And so we'll see. You know, I know a lot of people on social media were very happy about that whole ruling yesterday. People were basically ecstatic about it. Well, some of them.
I don't know about being ecstatic about it, but
you know, you saw though. You saw some of the people like, oh my God, this is big. I'm like, I guess I'm selfish until it really affects me. And it's cool.
Yeah,
but
that's how it is. Like,
like it's cool.
Wait, hold. We trying to get the War Room Sports logo on the jersey.
Yeah, that's a whole.
We can approach the union about that.
But this, you know, the Buffalo Bills franchise, you know, has had a pretty bad week. We're just going to give some quick shout-outs. Rest in peace to the Bills' longtime owner. Owned the team for, 54 years, Ralph Wilson Jr. Mm-hmm. He died at the age of 95. So, really, that's the kind of life that you really don't mourn. You celebrate it. He had 95 good years on the earth, did some good things, owned a football team for a very long time, made a lot of money. So, you know, celebrate that life. But condolences to his family, to the ones who are, you know, a little sad about it. And our prayers are definitely with former Bills quarterback Jim Kelly, because, you know, he has been battling cancer, but his cancer has kind of come back and spread. So he was going to get a surgery late this week, but instead they've opted to do a chemo and radiation. So, you know, our prayers and thoughts are with Jim Kelly as he goes through another round of this. We hope it works out well. Question for you guys, because this was some of the big news. Well, before we go on to that, because we actually have somebody on the Digital Extreme Tech Hotline, I think they may want to talk about what we were just talking about. So we're going to go to the hotline to the homie Joel. What's up? You there?
Yo, what's going on, guys?
What's going on?
What's
Joel. How's everybody doing?
14.
Pretty good.
Nah.
I know you probably wanted to talk about that the
Northwestern thing, yeah.
Yeah. What's up? What's your
first of all, out of all the great college programs where the football players want to be employed, Northwestern, yo.
That's a great point.
Right?
Yeah. When's the last time they've been good?
Jesus. Secondly,
when Darnell Archery was there.
Yeah. All right. Second, as far as making money off your own image and likeness, whatever, I think every athlete should be able to do that, you know. But the 60-hour thing, what's so different between that and, say, a music major who goes to school and then goes home and just tries to bang out music, or a film major who tries to make movies who works hard to become a better filmmaker? You know, you got to practice to become a better football player.
They're probably not forced. They're not forced to do it though.
Well, they're not forced to play football. They're not forced to play football either, right? You could say no. I don't want to play football.
In school, they do. A lot of these guys come from areas where they can't afford to go to school. They want to stay in school. They better.
Well, I mean,
go to practice.
but they're going to school. But they're going to school for free to do that, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, but they're not music majors. They're football players. They may still be a music major, and be a football player. They're not majoring in football. Maybe that's the answer.
They'll go home and play the
major in
like
football.
The young boy in Miami.
Give them a major in football. Let them major in football. That's the answer. We're gonna start new majors.
All right. So let's say they become employees, right? What do you think the school should pay them for being employees?
See, I've always been.
I'm not gonna say. Yeah, go ahead.
I've always gotten condemned because I wasn't really paying college players. Then you got to have a damn good plan of how you do that, because, who gets paid what? Like, I think somebody has to come out with a really good structure of who gets what. Do these non-revenue generating athletes get money? And even the people who are playing sports that generate revenue, but they're not. If you're the 12th man on the bench at Kentucky and nobody knows your name, like, do you get the same amount of money as a Randall would get? He's the star of the team. So I think you would have to come out with a really, really good structure in order to do that. I'm not, I was never really rah-rah about that whole argument. But what I do, like what you said earlier, Joe, I think that people should be able to make money off their own likeness, though. There are certain athletes in college sports that are just straight-up superstars. And if they can get money for their likeness, then they should be able to do that. But I don't know what the 46th, 50th man on the football team, I don't know what he's supposed to do in comparison to a Johnny Manziel. Like, what is he supposed to get?
Yeah, because
they can't get paid equally.
If a university were to start paying them, right, then you take away the scholarship thing, right? Right? Because what's the point of you're paying them and you're giving them a free ride? I think you would have to trade off one or the other. And two, in that case,
would they even still be a student, or would they just be there to play football and not have to attend any classes?
I think that's where we're headed towards anyway. I think it's literally going to become the minor league. That's what it's going to become. It's like football programs will become extensions of the schools. Like, they're here to play football. Some guys go to school, some guys don't, but it's an extension of the school because that's what it is anyway. The funny thing is, giving these guys scholarships, a lot of kids who have no intention of using it, they don't take full advantage of the scholarship. Because a lot of times when you go to school, it's not even about what you learn in the classroom. It's about the experience and the networking, a lot of other things. They don't take advantage of that. Most of these guys think
Jimmy, I
they're
still think we underestimate the percentage of kids who aren't going to the NFL and NBA and
I get that.
And they
and a percentage of them know that the only way they can go to school is to get the scholarship. I agree with that. But my thing is, I think that's going to be a part of it. You're going to have some guys who, are just going to be part of the minor league program, so to speak, and other guys who will be there as athletes and students. And I think it's going to be a separation, but this is where we're headed towards. And
so many questions pop up when you do that. Go ahead, Joe.
My last point. Okay, V. Who's going, me?
No, go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry, man. This is my last point. Then I can do whatever. I'm not too well versed in the whole Obamacare thing, but if you become employees, right? That's 50-something employees. Don't you got to insure these guys now, right? And doesn't that open a whole other problem? Like who's insuring a bunch of football players running around, right?
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say a lot of questions arise when you say it. Like a lot of people say it, just pay these guys, but they don't really think about all that goes.
Yeah, they don't
that.
think about the cost of an employee.
If you can figure all of that out, then I'm all for it. Do what you got to do. But so many people just run around saying pay the people, but they have no clue how much that would.
How about taking a step backwards for the universities? In the past, the universities gave away tickets for free to the game. They didn't have this income generating structure. The tickets were free. The jerseys weren't sold. Like, how about the universities taking a step back as opposed to continue to be like pigs and try to keep getting more and more money out of the kids? How about that?
The funny thing is there is a huge expense with operating an NCAA football team, and one of the things to consider is we're speaking in terms. I've heard the number thrown around 50, 40, 50. An NCAA roster is closer to 70, 80, sometimes 90 kids because they don't cut kids. So you can walk.
Yeah, but how many are on scholarship?
You got a lot of Rudies. You got a lot of
red shirt, a lot of dudes.
Yeah, but how many are on scholarship? Because a lot of people aren't on scholarships also. Like, there's only a certain amount of scholarships allowed per school.
A lot of people are walk-ons, but once you unionize, that's going to change because it becomes collective bargaining. So the collective bargaining isn't going to be just for the star athletes or the star players. It's going to be for the entire collective. When you play collegiate sports, you're going to be a part of that union, and you're going to get compensated. So now, whether you're, Johnny Football or you're the 77th man on their roster, there's compensation out there, there's consideration, and then there's the cost of that employee. Because as you pointed out, Joel, now you're in a position where you've got to insure them, and that's a huge cost. The colleges and universities and the NCAA, don't make no mistake, they have the money and they have the revenue sources. Now they've just got to band together, and they may have to do profit sharing on their television contracts, because every major conference is getting a television channel now or a network. So now the value of those networks come into play. There's so many revenue streams with collegiate athletics that let's not cry, a tear for them being put in a position. They'll figure it out and figure out how to make it make sense and make money. They've just had, as Jimmy pointed out, they've had, a 40-year ride of 8 to 9 figure income, and now the students are figuring out a way to get a piece of that. But it still will be a fractional piece. But it'll still be a fractional piece. So there's more than enough money in the pot to compensate. I wouldn't pay them more than a stipend. I would consider creating something that almost forced them to be financially responsible. So, yeah, you can get a $2,500 a month stipend or $2,000 a month stipend. You're not going to get a professional athlete's pay. You're going to get a stipend, and maybe we put, another piece of that money back towards your college education, or maybe we sit it in a trust and you're awarded that trust at 25 or 30. There's ways to structure this to make it, reasonable.
No doubt. Well, we can make a whole show off talking about this. I think we have before.
Right.
But hey, Joel, thanks for your call, man. We appreciate it.
Yo, can I just say one more? I'm really sorry, man. I'm such a selfish bastard.
Go ahead.
I have one more. Yeah, last week y'all were talking about the biggest myths in sports, right? And I couldn't call in. I had something to do, man. But I just wanted to say, y'all don't even have to talk about it. I just want to say it. The biggest myth of sports is defense wins championships. That's the biggest myth of sports, y'all. In my opinion.
We're going to have to talk about that one. I mean, not now, but
I disagree.
we're going to have to talk about that one. That's the first one that came up where I'm like, I don't know if everybody would agree with that. Like me, it's like I can see both sides of it. So, yeah, we definitely going to talk about that. You know what?
We can talk about Facebook, whatever, man. You guys be good, all right?
I think
webcast. I see a webcast coming on.
We can do that.
Coming on. All right, so we'll hit you up for that, Joe. And we'll do it on video.
All right. Good night, y'all.
All right, take it easy.
All right, so yeah, so real quick,
I think cheating wins championships. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, no doubt. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But the NFL, which everybody likes to say stands for the No Fun League, has now banned the slam dunk, over the goalpost celebration after touchdowns. You guys have a problem with this?
No, and I'm always all for taking shots at the No Fun League. I'm the first one out there waving a banner saying that they're trying to regiment the game and being too rigorous. They're becoming obtuse. But in this case, when you dunk on a goalpost and you're heavy and you're a 260-pound tight end, you could conceivably pull that goalpost.
Everybody taking shots at one dude. Just say his name, man.
Or bring it off, offline. And so I actually don't have as much of a problem with this as I would normally. Now, I have a problem with the spirit behind it, because I do think they're trying to take more fun out of the game and be more rigid, but I understand.
You know what, Bielsa?
I do understand.
I laughed heartily all week at how upset fans were at this. Like, I just don't care. Like,
let me keep it a bean, though. When I first heard this, I laughed. I was like, here they go again. But when I started reading it, and they were talking about the amount of time that they lose having to, keep the goalpost straight because it's shaking and crooked.
Do you remember the game last season? I think it may have been in Atlanta where the game had to stop for 20 minutes while they rebalanced the goalpost after Jimmy Graham tried to Darryl Dawkins.
Yeah. And that's exactly when that rule was born. He's the reason the rule was born.
Yeah.
But it was so funny to me because people are up and I'm looking at. And I can't go by social media because I think people sometimes purposely say the most outrageous things they can possibly say on social media to get a rise out of people. Exactly. Because I'm seeing people talking about how they're not going to watch NFL football anymore because this is not a dunk contest. It's not even that sport. This is a whole different sport. Y'all gonna start watching football because people can't slam dunk in football anymore? Really? Shut up. So I ain't gonna spend another second on that.
I told y'all to shut up.
That's just silly though, man. All right, last thing before we get into some hoop talk. This is kind of hoops meets NFL. Mark Cuban.
They tried that before, didn't they?
He said that the NFL TV deal is quote unquote hoggy, and he thinks the NFL is 10 years away from implosion. Here's a couple of quotes from him. He said, "Just watch. Pigs get fat. Hogs get slaughtered. When you try to take it too far, people turn the other way. I'm just telling you, when you've got a good thing and you get greedy, it always, 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 always," and he said always 5 times, "turns on you. That's rule number one of business." Now, a lot of people, of course, jumped on him right away, but, hey, who are we to tell Mark Cuban about business and business practices and what's right and wrong in business? Dude is a billionaire. Not saying that he's, immune to any criticisms of business, but I do think what he's saying makes some good sense because at some point you can actually turn fans off when you're just being too greedy.
I agree with the premise. I agree with where he's coming from. The only point that I would make, the only point where I disagree is the timeline. I don't think that implosion will occur within a decade. It may be a generation. It may be even 2 generations. But I feel as though there's so much stuff inside the sport there's so much stuff that's going wrong with the game that people aren't necessarily noticing quite yet, to where I could see it eroding. And one of the things that we always talk about is the effect of the health and the mental issues at a younger age. You're seeing a decline in the number of kids playing football. So how many folks are being funneled into the machine to get ready to get ground up into hamburger meat? You don't have the same amount of hamburger meat going in the machine. You get the analogy there. So I think that you lessen that talent pool. There's not that many huge 350-pound men running around. You got to have as wide a talent pool as possible. So that's going away, and you're getting an inferior product. Now, if they legislate the violence out of the game, pretty soon it'll be two-hand touch with pads on. People aren't going to want to see that. But the NFL isn't lowering prices. They're not keeping prices static. They're rolling with the inflation wave. So I can see where he's coming from. I just don't think the time frame is correct.
They can't afford a preseason game these days, so it is getting hard.
I got my own analogy, right? I like to consume large quantities of food. I love food, right? And Dev, you know this from travel. When you go to a restaurant, right, and a restaurant has a gazillion things on the menu, a lot of times that's not the best restaurant. When you go to a restaurant that has a little bit, a lot of times they are the best restaurant. So we have this thing
they
where
specialize.
Because we have this thing where we always want to add, we want to have more. We're greedy as Americans. Let's just keep it a bean. But sometimes less is more. So I use that analogy like the NFL. One thing that's not being said, the NFL is trying to add games. What makes the NFL special is the fact that there is only 16 games.
And every game matters so much.
They're talking about going to 20 games. NFL
and
is fueled by gambling.
And they're expanding the playoffs, Jimmy.
Expanding the playoffs, expanding the regular season. So he mentioned just the TV contracts, but there are things outside of the TV contracts which makes them really look like hogs. But here's the thing. So that was my analogy to that. I mean, it's the same thing. It's sort of like with Netflix. I became a Netflix member in like 2000, and there was only a couple things on there, but I enjoyed my subscription. Now there's so many things on Netflix.
He had dial-up Netflix.
Yo, did I? There's so many things on Netflix that, I don't end up watching anything because I can't choose. It's too much. Sometimes less is more, man. And the NFL is going way too far. They're going so far away from that. But I think there's a method to their madness.
I read that Netflix, I know this wasn't your point, but I read that Netflix takes up like 30% of internet traffic right now. But,
I know. I read that
too.
between Netflix and YouTube, that's more than half of the entire internet. But anyway, here's the thing. I think that Mark Cuban is on point. I don't know about the timeline, like Bial said, it may be 15, 20 years. I don't know what the time frame is, but I do think that it's going to implode. I think that they're doing too much, but I think that it's a method to their madness. I think they agree with Mark Cuban. They agree with me and B. Austin. I think they're just going to, they're going to DMX it. They're going to drop as many things as possible within a short period of time.
Run it until the wheels fall off.
Yo, they're going to make as much money as they can before the whole thing implodes. They say, look, we're going to get real fat. Then we ain't gonna care no more because they're gonna move on to something else. I think
they may be doing that with the other thing in mind, though. With the whole head injuries and like you also said, less people playing.
Like you said,
they know that football's days are probably numbered in this country, and people probably hear me say that and think y'all crazy. But I'm not talking about a thing where it might not be in my lifetime, but football's days are numbered.
It's comprehensive. It's comprehensive. It's all of those things combined. Now let me take the devil's advocate approach or the haters approach to Mark Cuban. Now let's say that what he's saying is true, but let's look at the motivation and the seed of motivation where it comes from. What happened, and this is my speculation, is Mark Cuban has been doing his whole NBA thing, getting on everybody's nerve, trying to get an NBA franchise, and the old boys, Robert Kraft and them, got together and said, look, we're not letting you in the club, Mark, no matter what you do, no matter how many billions you have. We're not going to allow you to get a money printing factory because that's what an NFL franchise is. It's a money printing factory. If you don't know, study the economics of owning an NFL franchise. it doesn't even compare when you look at the difference between basketball and football. There is no NFL franchise that doesn't make money, and there's no NFL franchise that you can't print your own money with. That's not the same case with NBA. So your man Cuban understands that, and he's tired of squeezing. It's relative here, but he's tired of trying to squeeze to get money out of the Dallas Mavericks when he knows that he could just get the bum-ass Raiders and be making 9 figures off of the television contract and merchandising. So he wants in on the grab. He wants in on the money.
I feel that too.
But I think it's part. I don't know about that though, because he really wanted a baseball team.
Right. I look at Mark Cuban, and you know, I don't take it that way when he talks. I just take it as somebody who's outspoken and they're going to speak their mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any ulterior motives. I don't think he, wants in. And I made the same joke. As soon as that came out and we posted it on our social media site, I was like, oh, it looks like, they may have turned him down for ownership, but that was definitely tongue-in-cheek type of joke. Like, I really take him face value at his word. I just think he's speaking out on the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, because think about it. At the same time, like, dude has just as much, if not more money than most of these people. And like I said, I don't like to count people's money, but,
but you always
I don't
want
think
more money.
Yeah, I think he's like
but I know that in the past he's made moves and applied. He's actually applied to try to own a baseball team. He went through the whole process, and they didn't like him being outspoken. He tried to buy the Cubs, as a matter of fact. So he really wanted to get into baseball because they believe it or not, they print money too. Certain baseball franchises, they have 162 dates to make money, so they make money. And he tried to do that. But the gist of this whole story, I agree. I don't know in terms of time frame whether that will be the case. But I can see it, man. Look, I mean, we may not get there, and we may not see it. We may not get there with you, but,
Am I okay?
The word is
all right.
We may not get there with you, but we want you to know tonight that, it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen, yo.
All right, well, let's, real quick, man, because I guess it's going to be on with us in about 15 minutes. So let's talk some hoops real quick, Jim. And real quick, everybody, as we tell you, you can check out our website at warroomsports.com if you want to call in and speak to us about any of today's topics. Dial the Digital Extreme Technologies hotline at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. But right now, we're going to see what's happening in the association.
Yes, it's time to talk NBA hoops. Listen, for the best in your favorite team's merchandise and apparel, shop Fanatics. That's right, Fanatics is bringing the NBA talk by War Room Sports to you on this episode of the War Room. Shopping Fanatics is easy. Just go to our site, which is warroomsports.com, and click on the Fanatics logo, which is on our main page, or click the Sponsors tab. You can get the latest in NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and NCAA gear. Cop up that NCAA gear before it stops going on sale, and also the NFL, because both won't be here with us, too much longer, according to our show. So, go to Fanatics. Go to warroomsports.com. Click on the Fanatics logo. It is time to talk NBA, gentlemen. The NBA players of the week are Joe Johnson and Kevin Durant.
Dad,
what is that?
Week? I think Kevin Durant gets it every week.
Either Kevin Durant or Blake Griffin.
Joe Johnson and the Red Hot Nets, even though they lost to the Bobcats last night, and 4-0 week. They won games over Phoenix and Dallas, so and Boston, but that's two good teams. Boston's not really good. Joe Johnson averaged 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 58% from three-point land, and he just destroyed Boston from three-point land, went 6 for 8 against them, and routed 27 points. Kevin Durant, he's gotten this award probably for like the 12th time this season. The Thunder went 3-0 last week. He had 35 points or more in all 3 contests. He's also on a streak of 25 points and some other stuff. Somebody look up that streak for me. He's in the company of like Michael Jordan,
36
and
games.
Oscar Robertson.
36
games over 25
games.
points.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So last week he averaged 40.3 points per game, 11.7 rebounds, 6 assists, and of course he closed out the week on that 51.3 12 rebound game against the Toronto Raptors in an overtime win. Jimmy, can I just ask this for y'all? Like, is the MVP race over? Is it over?
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, and it's for a multitude of it's a lot of reasons, because when you look at it, like, yo, I don't know what the total count is, but Blake Griffin has caught him possibly, because Blake Griffin won like 3 in a row, then he like didn't win one, then he won like 3 more in a row. But
are you talking about Players of the Week?
Players of the Week, yeah, but also the success of that team as well. So it's a little bit of both. But I think that it's completely over. It's Durant to lose, if anything. It's been
I think it's too late to
MVP talk about him. Yeah.
LeBron made his push. He made his push, but Durant pushed back, and the Heat, dropped a few games here and there. So I think it's Durant's, man. He played a lot of the season without his 1B and Russell Westbrook. Even with Russell being back, he's not completely Russell. So he's had to carry a greater load this season. He's doing more with his game. See, his rebounds are up. He even knows how to pass the ball this season. And his scoring numbers are just off the wall some weeks. So, yeah, I think it's over. Like I said, I think LeBron made that push where we actually had an MVP race argument. But I think it's dead in the water now. Shout out to Blake Griffin and all the other guys who are going to bring up like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th spot.
And I think, not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I just think that it's also one of them things where they have been trying to create this whole rivalry between these two guys, and this will just add to it. It's sort of like basketball is at its best when you have the two guys you can compare to, like the Magic Bird type thing. Even when Mike was killing everything, every year they tried to give him someone to compete to, whether it was Ewing versus Jordan or Ewing versus Barkley. It's just that nobody at the time could compete with him, but they tried. So, this is what they're trying to build. They're trying to build this rivalry of two guys that work out together. But anyway, so I definitely think this will go towards helping that narrative.
I think that Durant is a little bit of a throwback player. Now, he still suffers from some of the same tendencies of a lot of these players of the generation, but there was a switch that was hit in his psyche at some point over the summer, at some point early on in the season, where he's anti-Drake. He's trying to do right and kill everything. And his whole answer is, I'm going to score more than you, I'm going to try and win more than you, and I'm going to go out and get what's coming to me. And so I feel like LeBron is the better player, but I feel like Kevin Durant is having the better season and playing at the higher level, which is why that MVP should be his. Like, I see the killer. I see the killer in him. I ain't think it was even in there. I see the killer.
Okay. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. I think that it's his to lose. Like Dad said, it's his to lose, and it may be too late for him to actually lose it. So he will be the MVP. Real quick though, I just want to throw this in there. I'm not sure that he signed or not, but at Casey Mack says Miguel Cabrera is getting ready to sign a 7-year, $200 million contract.
Damn.
So gentlemen, have your son pick them baseball bats up. That's all I want to say about that. That's hilarious. But anyway, next story in the NBA. After the 20 performances, like, are Parker and Wiggins ready for the NBA? Because these guys, like we mentioned earlier, got a lot of the hype. Jabari Parker, and everybody was rigging for Wiggins, including the Sixers, who we'll talk about. But after they performed the way they did in the tournament, you saw a lot of people like turn on them. The slander was out of control. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, my thing was a lot of the Wiggins criticism has been there for most of the season. Jabari Parker actually had a great season, by freshman standards, and he had a game against Mercer where, supposedly he didn't take over the game when people thought he should have. And now they're putting him down in the same conversation that they've been having about Wiggins for, the entire season. I think that's a
Hell no,
crazy
you are
judgment
out
to
your
make
mind.
after. That's a crazy judgment to
One
make
game.
after one game for in Jabari Parker's case. I think both of these guys are ready to play at the next level. Even in Wiggins' place, like he averaged 17 points this season. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the college game is a bit more of a structured game, more of a fundamental game than the NBA. But I actually think players such as Wiggins, who are uber athletic, I think he has a chance to be, even better in the league than what he seemed to be in college. So I don't think people should be down on him after 1 year where they expected more and he didn't give them as much as everybody expected. I think, just the pace of the NBA and the fact that athleticism rules for especially most of your early career in the NBA, I think this guy will be fine. And I think Jabari Parker will be fine because I think his skill set is already rather mature for the NBA. So, these guys didn't play well in one tournament game. Big deal. Wiggins didn't come and destroy college basketball like everybody, thought he would. Big deal. I think these guys are ready. Or they can be ready. I would like to see them go back to college and hone their game some more. But I'm just not totally jumping off the bus because
one thing, Dev. Here's the thing that a lot of people never mention when talking about this: the fact that the college game is completely different than the NBA game. Mm-hmm. So, how many guys have you seen in college that just didn't, perform that great, and they get to the NBA and they're one of the greatest players ever? You know what I mean? Like, because the college game is completely different. It's a different game. I've heard some people go as far as say it's damn near a different sport.
NBA is faster. You got the 24-second shot clock. It's just, it's going to be an easier world for cats, especially guys like Wiggins who are athletic like that.
That's a great point. The NBA game is predicated on athleticism, and there's a lot of dudes in the NBA that are uber athletic freaks, but not necessarily the brightest of basketball IQs there. And the thing with the NBA game is it's isolation basketball, which they've gotten away from a little bit. I'd still say that it's isolation basketball. It's not as much as it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, and pick and roll. If you learn how to master the pick and roll as a guard and a ball handler offensively, you're golden. Even if you can't run any other offense or any other set, if you learn and master the pick and roll, there's your NBA career.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. I'm just, that's exactly it. It's a great point. But, so I think that people need to, chill with this whole thing with these guys. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you can't judge it based upon just what happened last weekend. Not saying they will be great because at the end of the day, we never know. You never know. It can go one way, it can go the other way. But I think it's crazy. But speaking of rigging for Wiggins, two gentlemen on the show with me are 76ers fans, and the 76ers right now, they're taking tanking. They're taking tanking to another level, yo. This is legendary tanking. These guys, 25 in a row they lost?
25 in a row. Tonight they're in Houston, so make it 26 in a row for the Philadelphia 76ers. And the funny thing is, you see all of these memes going around the internet, and then, a lot of people joking on the Sixers and stuff like that, but I mean, this is exactly what the Sixers want. Really the joke's not on them at this point because they're trying to do everything they can to implode the team so they can try in what they think is going to be a very deep draft and a very good free agent class to rebuild the team really quickly instead of it taking a lot of years to do. And I think they've taken tanking to a new level because if you look at
I just want to mention one thing about this, which I find very hilarious. They still haven't caught the Bucks. How do you lose that many games in a row and you still don't have the worst record in the league? That's
right.
amazing.
And I think the Bucks may be trying. I mean, if you look at the Sixers, if you follow the Sixers, you realize like before the trade deadline, or they got rid of anybody who did anything positive on the team. Like, Evan Turner may not be the greatest player, but he was one of the top 3 players on this team. Spencer Hawes wasn't the greatest center, but he was, anybody doing anything positive minus Michael Carter-Williams and Thaddeus Young have been jettisoned from the team. Like, they pick up people for 10-day contracts who are just playing ball, like B. Austin was talking about earlier in the week somewhere at the YMCA. And they're trying, and I also think, and I've said this before, they must think that margin of defeat, they must think that goes into how many ping pong balls you get, because this team, if you look at the box score every night, and unfortunately, being a fan, I see more than the box score. I actually suffer through these games. They're losing by like 25, 30 points on a nightly basis. And, I try to tell them, like, you can be competitive and lose games. You don't have to tank it this way. But I hope the plan is successful. I hope these guys in this draft class turn out to be what they were supposed to be when the hype machine was on 10, because this is ridiculous what the Sixers are doing.
Hey,
they're doing purposely.
Hold on real quick, Deb. Before we get our guests on who's going to join us, we have Jonathan who wants to come on and say one thing real quick. And Jonathan is a Lakers fan, by the way, so I know he wants to stay around and hear our guest when he comes on. But let's bring Jonathan on real fast. Jonathan,
I need to speak about my Sixers. I need to speak about my Sixers. So,
Jonathan, what's going on, John?
How everybody doing tonight?
What's going on?
Oh, man, we're doing pretty good. What's going on, John?
Oh, man, you were talking about the Sixers, and for some reason I just woke up after the conversation. They're done. I mean, it's crazy. But I wanted to get on because I don't know if you guys discussed this yet, but, me being a football fanatic, and I know a lot of you guys are Eagles fans, what are your thoughts about Deshaun Jackson? What happened that led to him being pretty much told to not coming back? We're just waiting to see what best deal we can get for you.
I don't know, man.
We don't want you on the premises. What's going on? Don't tell me the money.
That's some behind the
Please don't tell me the money
thing. I think that's some behind the scenes thing between he and Chip Kelly, because it seemed like it's just come out of the blue. He had what will be considered the best season of his career. There were some rumblings about money right after the season, so you just get a contract,
well,
you have a better season, and then I mean, he claims that he was just talking about maybe a restructure, but I don't know why it's come to the point where it's rumored every day of whether or not he's going to be on the team, and it's really not because of football reasons. So I don't know what that means. I really can't.
John, when you get a chance, John, just go to our website, warroomsports.com, click on the blog tab. We actually have an Eagles writer who writes for us as well, and she has a little bit of insight. And you can hit her up, because I think that like you said, there's a lot of inside stuff going on, but she has some insight into that. But John, make sure you stay on the line. We're about to bring on the New York Times bestselling author who just wrote a book about your beloved Los Angeles Lakers. So I know you want to stay on it. You want to hear this. So thanks for the call. Thanks for the call, John. And we'll check back with you. But thanks, John. All right, take it easy.
No problem.
All right, Dev.
I just want to point out
real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah, the 76ers just signed a gentleman by the name of Casper Ware to a 10-day contract, and I know that neither of you guys know Casper Ware, or maybe you do. Maybe you played with him at your local YMCA or whatever gym it is that you guys go to. But if you're listening, if you could take the time to go to your computer and look up the Philadelphia 76ers roster, you will notice that, as Devin pointed out, everybody besides Michael Carter-Williams and Thaddeus Young, Jason Richardson, who probably is retired and just collecting a check, there's no one on that roster that you will know, not from college, not from playing overseas, not from the D-League. It literally is a pro-am team. Like, there are guys on that roster who weren't playing FIBA Division I or even FIBA Division II, FIBA, I'm sorry. Like, they were playing damn near semi-pro basketball. So my problem, as you said, it's about a respect and an honor thing, respect for the game, respect for your fans, putting out a product that your fans want to consume. I don't care if we win. I mean, I do care. I want to win, but make these games competitive. Like I watch the Sixers, and we depend heavily on Tony Rote.
All right. Well,
all right. That says it all, man. That says it all.
We'll get back to that. Yeah, I know you're upset as a fan, but we'll get back to that because we do have our guests on the line. And for everybody out there listening, if you don't know, about the conversation we're about to have, we have on the line with us Jeff Pearlman. He's a New York Times best-selling author of sports books such as Sweetness, The Enigmatic Life of Walter Payton, The Rocket That Fell to Earth, that's about Roger Clemens, The Love Me, Hate Me, Barry Bonds' book, Boys Will Be Boys, about the Cowboys dynasty of the 1990s, and The Bad Guys Won, about the 86 Mets. But he's going to be on with us today talking about his latest release and his latest New York Times bestseller, which is Showtime, Magic, Kareem, Riley, and the Los Angeles Lakers dynasty of the 1980s. And, this was a very good read, so we got some good questions for him. And for the first time, we'd like to welcome into the War Room Mr. Jeff Pearlman. Jeff, are you there? Can you hear me?
Technical. You got him on?
There it is. Jeff, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes.
There you are.
Yeah. No, I was going to tell you, I can't stay that long because back in 1994, when I graduated from the University of Delaware, my senior year, I played on an intramural basketball team called Edna's Edibles. And I'm not trying to brag, but we were the runner-ups for the intramural championships, and I started center, and I averaged about, 7 points and 6 rebounds, and I just signed a 10-day with the Sixers.
Everybody using that for Sixers.
I believe it. I believe it. I've
actually gotten on the treadmill lately because I was thinking about trying to get a 10-day as well, so I might see you.
I've always had, two of my dreams in life, one to write books and the other to play alongside Casper Ware. So now the pride of Long Beach State. So now I guess all my dreams are coming true. It is amazing. And I'm doing this show. I'm doing this. Wait, just to be clear, I had a book come out. I get signed by the Sixers and get to play with Casper Ware, and I'm on the show all in the same time frame. This is I could die now. This is the best.
Dreams come true.
Dreams definitely come true. Jeff, this is B. Austin. I can assure you that Casper Ware does not know who Casper Ware is. Just jumping into this, what prompted you to write this book about this particular team and why now?
Well, I'm a nostalgia guy. I'm 41, meaning I'm perfect for the Sixers, and I grew up in the 80s, so I'm ready to play. I'm telling you.
Too many shots.
I know, but it's so deserved. It's not even funny. But I grew up in the 80s, and I'm a child of the 80s, and I grew up actually a big New Jersey Nets fan, but the Nets were brutal when I was rooting for them. And back in the day, the thing you would love if you were a kid watching hoops on TV, it was all about Lakers Celtics, And this is sort of interesting and hard to explain, but when I was a kid, I grew up in a very, very conservative town, and is very white and very arts conservative, and it was in a little corner of New York, and everyone there rooted for the white teams and the white athletes. It's weird but true. So if it was St. John's, Georgetown, everyone was picking Chris Mullin over Patrick Ewing. If it was baseball, everyone like Don Mattingly was their favorite Yankee, not Dave Winfield. And in hoops, it was Larry Bird, not Magic Johnson. And I was like this kid, or like this little liberal white Jewish kid, and I loved, as weird as this is going to sound, 12 years old, loved cool black athletes with like cool afros and cool names. I was just drawn to it, and probably because everyone else in my town was a freaking racist. So I loved, everyone rooted for the Celtics, and I loved the Lakers. I loved Magic running the break. I loved Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the post with the funky skyhook. I loved Jamal Wilkes just because his name was Jamal Wilkes. I was all about that style. That's the truth. I swear to God, that's the truth. I was all about that style of play, that look, that pizzazz. So you fast forward, and now I'm like, again, this guy in his early 40s, and it was like nobody had written a great Showtime Laker book, and I just thought, this is awesome. I'm going to do it. So that's where I come from.
Right. And for the record,
Wow.
Jimmy is our resident Laker fan. So
I'm a huge,
and
it's kind of like the same thing. It's kind of the same thing. I was a huge Magic Johnson fan. Like, these guys will tell you that I don't believe anything negative about Magic Johnson, and I read your entire book, but I just, I ignore all the negative Magic talk. Not that
but it was not a negative Magic Johnson.
No, but I don't believe anything negative about Magic. Like, I was a huge Magic Johnson fan, so I thoroughly enjoyed the book. But I know, Dev, you was a question you about to ask, Dev?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because one thing that impressed me about the book was how thorough you are in telling the backstory of every single person who had a role, whether that role was big or small in the Lakers dynasty. So, like, even people who the average fan may have forgotten about or may have never even known existed, it was a great way to pull everything together, and it just, it made the book just make that much more sense. What I wanted to know is how rigorous was the process of gathering all that background information on so many people?
It's a beast. It's actually a beast. And I will say, it's funny how we were like joking about Casper Ware, but if it were 10 years from now or 20 years from now, and I were doing a story about like the worst team in NBA history, and I was writing about the Sixers, actually being serious, like, I live for guys like Casper Ware. I love the guys who nobody talks about. The guys who were there, who were witness to it, but people forget, and they're the guys who haven't told their stories a million times. So people make the mistake when they're doing biographies, I think, of I got to talk to Magic. Oh, my God, I have to talk to Magic. If I don't talk to Magic, it's a failure. Same with Kareem. And to me, I'm always like, I got to talk to Wes Matthews. I have to talk to Mark Landsberger. I got to talk to Kurt Rambis. I got to talk to Earl Jones, because those are the guys. Yeah, Billy Thompson, David Rivers, like, those are the guys whose stories haven't been told a million times, who haven't been asked 1,001 times about that play against Detroit and blah, 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 blah. So I'm dogged about it. And the first thing I do whenever I start a project like this book covered 79 to 91. So I find all the Laker media guides from each year, photocopy them, put them in folders, and I go through, and person by person, I make a file, a Word file for each one. Every person, the media guide, draft picks who never even stuck, front office executives, secretaries, ball boys, you name it, and then I go about finding them. And it's, and then I go through, literally, I was in the library using microfilm, which people probably don't even know what it is anymore, but, going day by day through every Laker clip from 1979 to 91, and then you circle things and you find these people and you see this little thing happen and maybe that'll be interesting. And it becomes like this obsession where you're all about the Lakers all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Jimmy and I, we were actually talking about that off air earlier, of how that, some of the stories about the quote-unquote little guys was the most interesting stuff in the book, because like you said, we've heard a lot of the Magic and Kareem stories ad nauseum, so it was good to see Showtime from the perspective of some of the other guys. So
it's
kudos for that.
It's like how many. I appreciate that. How many more Bird Magic stories are there to tell? And I get it. The Lakers and the Celtics were big rivals and blah blah blah. You have to go beyond that. If you don't go beyond that, you're writing the same book that's been done a million times. So I knew from the beginning this was not going to be and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, blah blah blah. It has to be part of it because it was important, but it can't be everything.
Right.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And as a Lakers fan and one who followed that particular team and loved everything about the team, one of the interesting twists about the story that I got a lot of insight into reading your book was about Coach Jack McKenna. I can only think what would have been his legacy if everything didn't happen the way it did. This is purely speculative, but from all you learned about him, how do you think the story would have played out with him at the helm for the decade if not for the accident?
Well, it's this crazy, crazy story that very few people know of, and Jack McKinney was this guy who coached at St. Joseph's University in Philly. It was St. Joseph's College, and then he was an assistant with the Blazers, and he gets hired as a coach of the Lakers in 1979. The only reason he got the job is because it was offered to Jerry Tarkanian from UNLV. He accepted the job,
story.
And then his crazy story, and his agent Vic Weiss negotiates a deal, and it turns out he was basically taking money from the mob, and he was murdered. And once that happened, Tarkanian decided to stay at UNLV instead of take the Laker job. So they hired McKinney as their second choice. And the team jumps out to this 9-4 record. They're all run and gun, and it's great times, and everyone's happy. And first off day of the season, he and his one assistant coach, Paul Westhead, decided to play tennis. Westhead's his best friend at the time. And McKinney goes into his garage, but his wife Claire took the car. So he ends up riding his son John's bicycle there to Westhead's house where there's a tennis court. And while riding the bike there, he flips over the handlebars, lands on his head, skids 15 feet down the road, and there's a John Doe on the sidewalk. And he's brought to the hospital in a coma and never coaches the Lakers again. And I think, to me, like, wow, the most important, for me, the best thing about this book, honest to God, I didn't think of it at the time. I've thought of it now in kind of promoting it and talking about it, is giving some sort of voice and awareness to the legacy, because he was hired, he's the one who said, we're going to run and gun. We have this 6'9" point guard, we have Norm Nixon, we're just going to run the crap out of this ball, and we are going to overwhelm everyone. And that was the birth of Showtime. And they won the championship that year, Paul Westhead coaching, but running Jack McKinney's system. And what came to be known as Showtime was really Jack McKinney's version of what it should be.
And I knew small parts of that, but not like to the extent that you just described. When I read that, I was like, wow, I didn't even know this. Like, you never hear his name mentioned, you know, and as Dev alluded to, like, you know, the small guys and the guys you just don't know about. You know, that was a powerful story. Sometimes reading this and then reading what happened with Jerry Tarkanian, and you're like, is this real life? Like this is like
it's an enthralling read, and it's almost like the story is more it's more entertaining and more engaging even than fiction because it's real. Jeff, Magic Johnson's influence was all over the dynasty. On the court, I mean, he was revolutionary, 6'9" point guard, a flair for the pass, eyes in the front, side, and back of his head. Off the court, I mean, he's running up and down in the Forum Club with the young ladies. He's kissing Isaiah Thomas on the lips. You know, he's doing all types of insane things. You documented the power he wielded on the front office and coaching decisions throughout the book. Was he truly that powerful within that organization? And does anyone hold resentment towards him today because of it?
He was powerful because he, Jerry Buss, the owner, was like his buddy and introduced him to L.A. and sort of really took pride in rolling with him and making him this L.A. icon. So he had a voice. He had a real voice in ownership that other players didn't have, and there was a lot of resentment at the time, mainly from Kareem and from Norm Nixon, another guard. You know, when Magic arrived at the Lakers, they had arguably the best point guard in the NBA in Norm Nixon, and Norm Nixon has to move over to shooting guard. He's also like the ladies' man in L.A. I mean, like a really dashing, good-looking guy, smooth. Savoir-faire is his nickname, just like the man. And Magic comes along, and he's kind of pushed to the side and forgotten a little. It was very, very, very hard for him. Very, very, very hard. But the one thing about Magic Johnson, like, if you're gonna come in and steal someone's job and sort of become the face of a franchise, if it's gonna work, you have to be really good and you have to be a really hard worker. And he was both. And he was a natural leader. So he just had this magnetism that sort of even people who were mad at him, they sort of let go after a while.
So no one still holds any resentment these days?
No. Anyway, if they did, he could just like buy their house a million times over.
Maybe Cookie. Maybe Cookie. Cookie may.
Maybe Cookie. Cookie would have a right to, but otherwise, no.
And and you just mentioned about like Kareem, and we all knew that Kareem was a bit aloof, but he was highlighted in your book for being like a straight up asshole. Let's just be honest. From what you learned of him, do you think that his persona is the primary reason he has trouble breaking into the coaching ranks, and also even outside of that, why his accomplishments? They seem to get a bit overlooked as time goes on, and a lot of it, he's never applauded for what he has done on the court. Do you think all that has anything to do with his personality?
It's very interesting. I covered Major League Baseball for Sports Illustrated during sort of the early 2000s when Barry Bonds was huge, and he was a straight-up asshole to everybody, right? I've never seen a person treat anyone worse than Barry Bonds, consistently, repeatedly, treated everyone like dog shit, right? The worst. I mean, the absolute worst. And he can't get a job in baseball. He can't get a job in baseball because why would you want that guy around your team, around people? And Kareem is not the asshole that Barry Bonds is because Kareem actually has these social awkwardness, these issues of social awkwardness that stem from a childhood where he faced a lot of racism, where he was like this, extremely tall museum piece from the time he was a kid. He just built up a shell around him. But he was terrible with a lot of people. He was horrible with fans. I mean, just horrible. Dreadful with the media, really mean and pointed. And it's funny because if you look at Kareem and you look at Magic, their basketball legacies are very, very similar. They were college champs. They were multiple NBA champs. They're both stars in L.A. Kareem is, without question, the more intelligent, if you go strictly by book smart, of the two men. Mm-hmm. Yet one guy, went on to coach the Lakers. He went on to be in management with the team. He hosted his own talk show. He built up a small business, actually a large business fortune, and he now is one of the owners of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the other guy can't get an assistant coaching job. And to me, it comes down to one thing. Magic Johnson embraced people, and he was warm and giving and caring and a conversationalist. If you wanted a hug, he'd give you a hug. It didn't matter if you were short, tall, white, black, sick. He was like a Mother Teresa, Muhammad Ali type figure for so many people. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wouldn't give you the time of day. And that stuff ultimately, as with Barry Bonds, comes back to hurt you.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talked about this off air, and we kind of talked about how Magic must not have anything left on his bucket list because he's literally done it all. But it's interesting because one of the books that I'm reading now,
he hasn't been on our show yet.
One of the books I'm reading now after finishing your book is about Bill Russell, and Bill Russell had a similar personality based upon what I've read thus far. But it's just interesting to see how Kareem is remembered, as time goes on. And me and Deb were talking off the air. I just watched a biography on Pam Grier, who Kareem dated at one time.
Oh, I love Pam Grier.
She was talking about how socially awkward he was. She said that they were dating. He found Islam, and he came to her one day and said, "Listen, are you going to marry me? Because if not, I'm marrying this other girl on Tuesday." And she was like, "What?" And that was Tuesday. She said that's just how he was. She said he sort of was like socially retarded, so to speak. Like he just didn't understand people. And after hearing her say that and then reading your book, I'm like, wow, Kareem was really
I think Jeff actually used that same term.
I did, socially retarded.
Socially retarded.
Yeah. But I do think I will say,
she said the same thing.
I just feel like it's like you asked if he's an asshole. You said asshole, and it's a fair term. But I also do think I've sort of learned this as I've gone along a little bit. We just have to look at people as a whole, and your background and your experiences, for all of us, they form who you are. And I just think the guy really sort of, from a cultural and growth standpoint, really had the crap kicked out of him as a kid. I mean, he really did. He faced a lot of racism as a kid. And he was, again, it's like being the 7-foot guy and hearing how's the weather up there for the 1,000,000th time by your 18th birthday. And after a while, you don't want to hear it. And they used to fly it's weird, but the NBA used to fly commercial. And Lakers would be in the airport, and that guy would go into the bathroom. And you know how gross airport bathrooms are. And he would sit on the toilet stall and read a book for hours so people wouldn't bother him.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at things from that perspective,
that's not a-hole. Yeah, he was an introvert. He was an introvert.
He was an introvert.
Actually.
Yeah.
Well,
it's hard to be an introvert when you're like 7'2".
Yeah, true.
It's difficult. So Jeff, you've written about the '80s Lakers, the '90s Cowboys, the '86 Mets, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, etc. So you kind of seem to have a penchant for telling the stories of polarizing teams and athletes. So let's talk about the future for a minute before we get you out of here. Are you already thinking towards your next project? Which story have maybe you been itching to tell that you think you might go ahead and tackle next?
Well, I wasn't going to do it until tonight, and I realized that there's something calling for me. And I'm going to call him after and see. I already have a title. I am Casper, the Casper Ware.
Casper is about to be a star. His life is about to change.
He's going to blow up.
Jeff,
I love how a Laker fan is talking trash about the Sixers. Like this season has been,
half of the league
the Marshawn Brooks era has been such a joy for you. Yeah,
no, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's definitely terrible. I mean, Swaggy P. Oh God. But
have you seen what Bazemore is doing with the Lakers? He's the new two guard. Come on, yo.
Listen to these names. We're talking about the Sixers and Lakers, and we're talking about Bazemore and Casper. Like, this is out of control. Jeff, the one thing I do want to say, though, reading your book, what I found interesting was when you start talking about the Pistons. I think that team needs their story told because the characters on that team were just amazing. Even the little portion of the book that you talked about the Lakers-Pistons rivalry.
I agree with you 100%. I'm going to be totally and completely honest with you. Not that I haven't been, but it's when you write a book, when you pitch books, it is like you have to show to a publishing company that there's a market for it. I just don't know that there's a huge interest outside of Detroit diehard about the Bad Boy Pistons, because I don't think Isaiah Thomas carries a book. You know, he's kind of more hated than liked.
This is true.
You know, so I don't know. I think it's a good book.
What about the Worm?
I can understand that. Unless people want to burn him. You may be right.
The Worm.
I don't know. It's hard.
He was
my
more
worst selling book.
Once he got out of Detroit. So.
Yeah, my worst selling book was my Roger Clemens biography, and I came to a realization that like people don't want to spend $30 on someone they don't like. You know, it's a hard sell.
Yeah.
I think Isaiah kind of fit, and Rodman kind of both fit in that a little bit.
This is true. They have multiple characters that no one likes. I think that's what makes the story so great. At the same time, you're right about that, though. You're definitely right about that.
We're just about out of time here, and we're about to get off the air. So before we do, Jeff, just let everybody know where they can find the book, first of all, and then you can let them know where they can find you, website, Twitter handle, you know, whatever you use to talk to people. Let them know.
I was under the impression that by appearing on the show, you guys were going to buy 5,000 copies of my book and distribute them. Is that not true?
Absolutely.
Oh,
we've distributed 3 so far.
I was thinking closer to 7,500.
We bought 3 copies so far.
And Casper Ware will autograph one.
Right.
You know, books on it. So, you know, he'll support.
As soon as Casper Ware autographs a book, it brings down the value.
I know.
You can get the book everywhere, all bookstores. I'm on Twitter at Jeff Pearlman and website jeffpearlman.com.
Okay, and we know for a fact that, you know, Kindle, Audible, all kinds of places. All right, so it was great to have you on. We want to thank you for taking time out to come talk with us in the War Room. You are welcome back anytime. So when you write that next one, you know, keep us in mind.
Casper.
Yeah.
Casper.
I am Casper.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
When you write I am Casper, just keep us in mind, and we'll definitely have you back on to talk about it. So
all right,
thanks for your time, Jeff.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.
Take it easy.
All right, that's Jeff Pearlman, everybody, the author of Showtime, Magic Kareem Riley and the Los Angeles Lakers Dynasty of the 1980s, New York Times bestseller. Yeah, so, you know, check out some of his books. He, in addition to Showtime, like we said earlier, he wrote Sweetness by Walter Payton. He wrote The Rocket That Fell to Earth. He was just talking about that. Roger Clemens. Love Me, Hate Me with Barry Bonds. Boys Will Be Boys. You Cowboys fans would love that one. It's the last time you guys were any good, and you still talk about it every day. So, you know, read up on it. And then
you want to find interesting
shots. The Bad Guys Won about the 86 Mets.
Here's what's crazy. Like, I've talked to several people in the media, you know, several age ranges, several cultural backgrounds. Like, I've talked to a lot of people in the media, and I've never heard one person say anything positive about Barry Bonds, yo. Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, not one thing.
Yeah.
Not one thing ever. Like, in life, never.
Before we get off the air, too, guys, I want to give Johannes Powell another shout-out for the listener's choice topic of the week. We're not going to really be able to get into it, but for the second week in a row, he's given us the most interesting topic, and it ties into what we just talked about with Jeff Pearlman. He asked a question, and the question basically was, if you were to be an NBA bench warmer for a 10-year period, which of these teams would you want to be on? A, the 1980-89 Lakers, B, the 90-99 Chicago Bulls, or C, the 2000-2009 LA Lakers. And
even
look,
close.
I said it when he said it, and this was before I read this book. But read the book. Go get Jeff Pearlman's book, especially for all of you who was on our social media outlets saying that you'd pick the Bulls or this and that, go read this book and just let us know when you change your mind, not if you change your mind. Let us know when you change your mind.
Michael Jordan,
come on.
Michael Jordan was smacking people, and Magic Johnson and the crew was smutting people. Come on, man. It's not even close.
It's not even close. I would love to be a bench warmer for this Lakers dynasty, man. All I gotta say, I got two words for y'all before we sign off. Forum Club.
Just the runoff moisture you would have got from being around that team is out of control, yo. With that being said, thanks for joining us again in the War Room, good folks. Shout out to everybody who chimed in the chat room, those on Facebook, Twitter, all the callers who chimed in to holler at us. Special thanks to Jeff Pearlman for joining us to talk about Showtime. Make sure you get it at your local bookstore if that still exists. But if not, always you can go to Amazon. You can get it on Kindle. Or, of course, you can go to audibletrial.com/warroomsports and get it for free. Or go to jeffpearlman.com to get your copy. Tune in next week, same time, same place for some more great sports talk. We'll take you all around the world of sports once again. As usual, we'll be talking Final Four. So until then, enjoy your week. Enjoy the rest of March Madness. We'll see you right here next week. Be sure to catch our conversations on Facebook, Twitter, and our videos on warroomsportstv.com. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top. R.I.P., big.
Know the blueprint. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic in the block push. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop dollars, tip top knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC, royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dev, TJ, Doc Beck, B. Austin. I'm shot. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.